Have you ever wondered why so many students that graduate from the top universities fail to get a job? And from the students who do get a job, is it often the one they've truly wished for? If only answering this question would be that easy. Somebody would deserve a Nobel Prize for finding a method. But while we're waiting for that to happen, I want to focus on one important aspect we neglect while looking for that desired job: networking. I want to start by telling you how networking became a priority to me. From the very first days at the university, I was told I need to network, 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 and network if I need to succeed. At the time, I thought I understood what it meant, but I did not expect my understanding to change that much in only a couple of years. Back then, I thought that employers would just give out jobs and opportunities to any student who was brave enough to ask for it directly. And yes, I actually thought that just asking would suffice. Naive as I was, I expected these successful people to give me a job straight after seeing my CV, looking at my transcript, or just after meeting me. Certainly, some of the more experienced networkers would giggle here. They would say, this guy got it wrong. And they would probably be right. It did take me quite a while to understand how wrong I was, until I got employed by one of the most admired Canadian companies. And it wasn't because of my application. Was it merely luck? Or was I in the right place at the right time? Maybe. Maybe anyone could have been in my place. Any student who is able to believe in him or herself and is willing to give something before asking for a job. So let me take you through the journey that reshaped my understanding of business networking. 1 year ago, the scariest question I could have asked myself was, what is it exactly I can offer the company I want to work for? Even though being a hardworking student, I did not know how can I be a valuable asset to a business. So while looking for a summer internship, I was studying abroad. Being an exchange student in Montreal, I applied to countless places among different industries, and guess what? Got declined by every single one of them. Living in Lithuania, studying in the UK, and residing in Canada, I was stuck between 3 countries, and I almost lost hope in finding a worthwhile summer job. Good thing I didn't lose hope in myself. I knew that a day will come, and I'm going to be judged not on my application, but on my personality. And it did. It was the day when I was helping to set up a presentation as my part-time job at the university. I found out that the main speaker is going to be the president of a well-known fashion retail company. When he arrived, having my name tag on, I saw it as a perfect opportunity to introduce myself. Surprisingly, the president was even more willing to talk to strangers than me. Reading out my name, he said, Dovas, where are you from? And when I humbly said, Lithuania, we started having a very, very pleasant and quite personal conversation. I did not see that coming. Out of all the people I could have met, he was the one that just came back from Lithuania a couple of months ago. How convenient was that? After staying and listening carefully to his presentation, I was convinced that this company is the one I would love to work for. So I approached him immediately, shook his hand, and declared, I want to work for you. Awkward silence followed. And then he asked the question I feared the most. What can you do for me? He said. And I was stunned. I literally did not know what to say. Luckily, some of the event organizers who knew me and overheard the conversation, they stepped in by saying, oh, Dovas can do that, he can do that, and don't forget, he's also really good in that area. That was a huge save. The president appreciated my courage, my attitude, but there was nothing to offer, nor in Canada, nor in the UK. However, he offered to send my CV to his Lithuanian franchisees. No guarantees, but he gave me his business card. Soon enough, I followed up in an email. But instead of just attaching my CV, I added this idea that struck my head during his presentation. An idea that I actually thought the company can implement. As the president has made a huge impression on me, I gave it away without having any hidden agenda. Just like that. What happened next was incredible. It was a spontaneous move that I sent the idea, but it happened to be a revolutionary discovery. You see, only after a couple of weeks, I get an email from the vice president of the e-commerce department. It said that this idea of mine that I haven't really thought about before, it caused some buzz, and they're willing to discuss it further in the head office. Bam! Now I want to stop the story for a second and reflect here. When I was the one who asked for something first, there was nothing to offer. But when I came up with a solution, and I provided it without having any hidden agenda, the situation has changed completely. My previous interpretations of networking that implied seeking out for contacts that can just give me something turned 180 degrees. I realized that it has to be me coming up with something first. It's quite powerful when you think about it. The president did not only read the idea, he sent it to his senior staff. Later on, when we actually met with the vice president, that vague idea of mine has already evolved to something. Something more similar to a real project proposal. Disregarding all my mentor's recommendations, I did not act as a serious business person. Quite the opposite. I was cracking jokes. At least trying. Anyway, I was trying to be myself. And what happened next was difficult to believe. He was impressed with the idea, but how it was presented was much more valuable to him. So he gave me an offer to sell the idea or to work for the company. As I was looking for a summer internship at that time, that was just perfect. After figuring out the details with the general manager of the department, getting a work permit in Canada was just a piece of cake. And it all led me having invaluable working experience in Canada, working directly for the head of innovation, who was a real inspiration to me, and finally, far most importantly, moving back to Canada for good as soon as I graduate. So the experience has taught me the real power of networking. It showed me how important it is to believe in yourself and how important it is to give something before you ask. Another thing is that my previous fear of not having the right skills to offer a business was completely diffused. Knowing that 1 out of 4 graduate job positions are filled through referrals, wouldn't it make more sense to prefer networking to applications? It is the managers that can make the standardized 5-step recruitment process into something much more simple and much more pleasant for you. Finding one company you're truly passionate about, thinking of a way to improve their product, operations, marketing, or whatever else, you can accomplish your desired job hunt much more easily. And I know it's much easier to say than to actually do it. But my story is a perfect example that it is possible and it does work. Now it seems that passion is something that employers can feel and value the most in a graduate. So the story started subconsciously, without having any hidden incentives. It ended up in a career I want to pursue and an amazing mentorship for life. The key takeaway of the story is that anyone could have been in my place. So it all came down to a simple conclusion. Give before you take. Be yourself. And don't be afraid to talk to strangers. With an average of 80 people competing for one graduate job position, the main way to stand out is not just having a flawless transcript or a cool CV. It's the ability to make a good first impression. And for that reason alone, the only person you're competing with is yourself. Thank you.